All right, everyone. I want to thank you for joining. This is going to be touching into the CRM aspects of business, as I was saying. If you do have any questions, just try to hold them until the end of the webinar when I'll have open options. I'll unmute everyone. Additionally, if you do want to chat with me, you can use the chat features and I'll try to respond when I'm able to, or at least be able to see what you're saying to me and try to maybe answer your questions that way if need be. So the first thing I want to start off with, I'm going to apologize ahead of time, is we are doing some building movements right now, and I kind of don't have a conference room. So if you hear a lot of background noise, I'm going to apologize ahead of time for that. But just to expect, you may be hearing that. So the first thing that I want to do in talking about business is really I'm focusing into the CRM aspects of it. So I'm going to walk you through the different features that it has, and then the later sessions really show you how to use those features and how you can benefit from them, some tips and tricks and suggestions of what you can do with the CRM features. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the customers and the different fields that are included within each of the customers. So one of the first pieces of this is your customers list. And you can see there's tags for customers and vendors. You can have a customer that is also a vendor. They don't need to be two separate entities. You can keep them both as a single account as a customer or a vendor. And the second piece into is when you're going to your customers list, you can see we have a bunch of shortcuts. Anytime you see these three horizontal lines, or as I also refer to as the hamburger menu, you can see and quick access any of the fields within a customer from that point. So when you're taking a look into a customer, you'll see that it has your dashboard, which contains any of the open information, any assignments, contacts. You can actually control what you want to see through using these widgets. Right now, everything is set to display as on. You can uncheck them so it's more simplified for your views. And then also up here, we have the header, and that also is configurable to change if you want to show whether or not how long they've been a customer, field notes, auto pay, and things of that nature. And this is everything that's in the dashboard. So this isn't really meant to enter and edit information. It's really just a quick access to access all the other information that the customer has that you might need to get to quicker. Looking at the basic info of a customer, you'll see that whether they are a customer or vendor. And the biggest difference of that is if they're a customer, they have an AR tab. If they're a vendor, they have an AP tab. And if they're both, they'll have both. And then, of course, once you, depending on what they are, that will allow you to do certain things with them throughout the system, show up in different reports. You can change them anytime, whether they're a customer or a vendor. And looking down the different statuses, we have prospect, we have active, deleted, and lost. For the most part, your customers are going to be prospects until they do an order with you. At least that's how it's set up to be as a default. You can change that. And then you have deleted and lost. And if a customer is deleted or lost, they don't show up in most of your drop-down menus. And then you have your category. How do you want to categorize them? You can set up categorizations, which can be useful when trying to do things later on in the system, whether you're trying to market to certain ones or do reporting based off whether or not certain customer types are a better fit for you. So you might want to target those customers or looking to them. And then you also notice as I hover over here that there's this plus sign. Anytime you see this plus sign, you can quickly add to those categories or into those drop-down lists. So you see it showed up here, but not status, because that is a hard-coded status field, so that has certain effects in the system, so you can't change that. All right, it gives you the customer ID number. If they are new to the system, it will just start straight from 0 and just increment. You can always change these, you can add, and then you can also have it set, start at 100,001, 1,002. It tracks their EIN information. We also track their websites, their addresses, which is geocoded. So it uses your Google integration. So if you are using the mobile app and need to make a appointment with a customer, you can just as easily go to the address, and it opens up in your phone, and it'll pull up their driving directions. Enter in their phone information. They can have their billing address, their shipping address, and they could also have multiple locations there too. Other informational fields you see in here are some of their industries they might be into. How do they come and access you? Were they a referral? Did they find them off of the internet piece of it? Were they referred to by a particular customer? So here's all the other different customers that are in the system. Do they have a credit limit? What's their default payment terms, and whether or not they're tax exempt? And then, of course, the mail settings. If there are other things that you want to track within your customers, you can easily add custom fields. I'll show you guys how to do that a little bit later on. And then let's see what else we have in here. We also have what we call the alert message. Now, what the alert message is, the ability to save this so that whenever you do visit the customer, it does trigger and pop up alert. So if there's a customer's on hold, or if they're past payment, or if there's any type of issues that you need to identify with this customer that other people need to see, you can send an alert message. And then we have this link to. Now, the way the link to works is depending on how they came into the system, whether it is something through one of your lead forms, or if they got created in a particular way, the system preserves that link. So you can click into it, you can see the lead form that they access. So when they filled out one of your Contact Us forms on your website, you can take our lead forms and put them into your website. They can fill it out, and we get all the information retained from them from that way. And then the last thing I'm going to show you in the basic customer information is really how to do those custom fields. So anytime you want to check in your custom fields or into your settings, just go to company settings, and then our search tool within our settings is pretty useful. So we can just do custom fields, and I can find which ones I'm looking for. So in this one, I care about the customer vendors, and I'm not care about the ones specifically under context. I'm just going to go to the main one. And then I can add a section under the customer and vendors. I can rename the title. By default, it's additional info. And then I'm just going to add the custom fields this way. And you can choose which type you want to use. So we have the alphanumeric if it's going to be something currency related. If there's a date field, a time field, date since the first time you spoke to them, date on auto renew, date for this. You can do simple yes, no's. That can be drop downs, check boxes, radio buttons, attachments. And then also just, larger text boxes. And then one of the other features that we have is that you can select a value from a list, and you can use a custom list where you can create all the different drop-down choices yourself, or you can choose a different list. So one of these might be referred to you from an existing customer. I might want to pick, from the customer vendors or an employee or some type of information that you want to associate from an existing list within the system. So the next thing we have in here, going back to our customers, we'll go back to our Joe's Crab Shack. Is our locations. So each of your customers may have multiple locations. So if you want to have a customer with multiple locations, you just got to set them up correctly so they can have their primary address, and then you can, within each location, you can add multiple. You can put whether that's their default billing address, their primary address, their shipping address, and you can have as many locations you want. And similar to your custom fields added at the customer level, you can add custom fields to your location levels. And then to pretty much your contacts or pretty much any other area in the system, you can add custom fields to. And you can even add a custom field that is used throughout the system. One of the other great things about when you're adding your customer information into it is if you go back to our basic customer list or just have add customer, You can add them individually this way, which will give you a contact. It will give you the customer, and it will also give you the location. Or the other way to add this in is when you're adding in your customer list is to do an import. And you can import your customer vendors and contacts and their locations all in one go. So if you do want to do that, like take an export from QuickBooks or from Salesforce or any of the other systems, if you get the list from it, you can import them using a CSV, Excel file, a text file. And we do give you an example of what is all the different fields that are available for import. If you have custom fields, you can just put in what the custom field name is, and it'll map it into the system as well. And additionally, when you're doing that too, we also do provide you with a sample of that. So you can open up the sample. It contains all the headers for you ahead of time. So it helps make sure that the import is hopefully as seamless as possible. And then once you do select and upload it, it will still give you the option to confirm. It allows you to match. It will try to auto match for you based off the name, but if there's a difference on names, you can map them accordingly. So there is a nice bit of flexibility within there. If there's any errors there, tell you which ones didn't get mapped and why. So you should have a good ability to do all your imports swimmingly. So I'm going to go back to our customers in here. And the next thing we want to look at is your contacts. Now, your contacts within the customers do have a number of different things you can do with your contacts as well. So some of your contacts may be associated to more than one company. So this individual contact might be associated to Joe's Crab Shack. You might want to have your customers associated differently. So you can have Joe's Crab Shack, Texas, Joe's Crab Shack, New Jersey, and you might keep them as separate companies, but you can associate one person across multiple different email accounts and email addresses. So we have the contact here, we have their email address, their phone numbers. You can put in their addresses and which locations they're associated to. You can also, at the individual person level, manage their subscription. So when you're doing emailing and marketing to them, you can manage them or exclude them. And then as they get different types, they can choose to unsubscribe if they'd like. And some messages that you send out are not able to be unsubscribed from. So if you need to send out important notifications, such as changing of terms and conditions, you'll want to be able to send those messages out in mass without having anyone to worry about being unsubscribed. Additionally, in each contact also gets a hub. Now, hub is something that you will find throughout the system. It is in the contacts, the locations, the customers, the employees, your whole corporate setting, and even each individual customer. Everyone has their own hub. And what hub is basically a document management area that allows you to organize and upload any documents, posts, links, referencing any outside material that you want to store within your entities, and then share that and organize it. And each time you upload a document or each time you upload a link, you do have the ability to limit who has the ability to see this. So here, I'm only want to have this associated to the employee Brian, and he can only view it. I myself has the ability to edit and access it, and then I might take another employee and give them full access. And then another piece to it is I might give everyone from the executive management team full access as well. So you can choose who can see it and who can edit it at the individual level or at the team or division level. And also, depending on where that hub is located, you can also let your customer contacts be able to see it through the customer portal. Additionally, in here, if they are associated to any particular assets, assets are something that can be tracked in the system. You would see that in here. We also have portal settings. As I just mentioned, there is a customer portal in which they can access and view and approve things. Now, as you can see right here, we only have 3 individual portal roles set up. there actually is a customizable option, so you can create as many different portal roles as you want. And in order to just see it, you can log in as them and see what it would be like for them to see the portal. The other piece that you can change the passwords, you can not give them access to it, in which case they lose their role. And then you can also adjust the settings so that only certain employees within the system can access the company portal, or I can set it so that my employees can access their customer portal but not make any changes, or I can set it so my employees can access the portal and make changes as if they were the customer. So you do have the ability to do that. And then the last piece within a contact is you can put whether or not they can be used as a reference. And that is something that will show up later on within the system. Additionally, going back to the info and moving forward is, as we said, we do have the locations, which also has some of the similar features. And then we have assignments. Now, assignments can be used in a lot of different ways. So one thing you might want to do is to make sure that all your customers are assigned someone, and you can create as many different categories as you want. So you can have your collections rep for all of your customers just be Alice Benjamin. She is responsible for all collections, and you're going to put that as visible in the portal, which throughout the system you'll see marked by the globe, and you can just change it from visible or not visible. And then you might also want to show who is their account manager. And that is going to be Brian Kinney in this case. I'm going to mark that he is visible and that he's their primary person. And again, that'll be visible in the portal as they go through and see. And it'll show a picture of Brian. It'll have his face, his contact information. So it allows them to quickly contact and reach directly the people that you would need to have reached. And then we have assets. Now, your assets are incredibly customizable. And what an asset is basically anything that you control, manage, or assist in with a customer. So it can be, in this case, I'm going to set something up for customer equipment, and we're just going to give it a name as a security camera. It's in service and was purchased for $1,500. And that's it. Now, in this case, it's very basic. That's all that there is. You can add in as many custom fields, and you can set them to be visible as well. So if in a case, let's say you're managing their security equipment, but they often don't know what their access credentials are, and you control their access, you can allow them to see some of these fields that are visible and some of them that are not by making them invisible. You can see any of the if you do like maintenance on vehicles, you can keep all of their vehicles that you do the maintenance on in here. If you do heavy equipment, rentals, serializations, leasing, there are a lot of different aspects of the assets you can do. They're very customizable, and you can just track anything that you might need from either as simple as credentials to purchasing information and maintenance information. The next piece that we have for a customer is collaboration. Going back, like I said, the first thing that we have is Hub, which we went over is your document management. And you can control as many groups as you want for each customer. And from here, it is a little bit different in that, like I said, you can mark documents as visible to the customer. And I'm going to let this be visible to everyone, including the customer. Additionally, we also have the ability to create surveys in the system. Now I'll be going into showing you how to create surveys a little bit more in the next session and how you can use them. But we also have surveys, we have quizzes, we have assessments, and we have forums. So these are 4 different things that you can send to your clients where you can capture information from them, whether they be surveys using to get feedback. So you can set up so that you create anytime a person finishes an order or you complete an order, you can get quality feedback and you can get surveys, and then you can run reports off of the surveys. If you're hiring new people, you might want to do quizzes. Quizzes can be used for employee management or customer management in any piece. You want to see if they have enough knowledge internally to do certain things. So you can create quizzes. You can do assessments, and these assessments can be either used as, similar to like quizzes are used, or they can be used for like needs assessments. So if I want to check for Joe's Crab Shack to see, answering these standard questions, what are their most basic needs that my company can offer to them, I can send them a needs assessment, or I can do it along the lines of a quizzes for internal purposes. And then, of course, any form. So you can create a form. You can fill it up with all the information that you might need to have in there. So that's, I want to know this information. As soon as they get the form, they fill it out, and get stored within the customer. So all the information, survey, quizzes, assessments, and forms, if a customer fills it out, it does get stored within their collaboration, and you also have a downloadable copy of that. All right. The next section to go into is the opportunities. Now, what an opportunity is anything that's in the pre-sale stage, and it doesn't necessarily have to be something sales related. It could just be a opportunity for you to build a better relationship with your customers or vendors. But for right now, we are going to look at it from a sales point of view. So what we're currently looking at is all the opportunities that are listed within this particular customer. If you're someone in the sales role, you can manage your opportunities a little bit differently by just looking at all your entire list of opportunities, and you'll see not just that one client, but other ones as well. But from here, you can see a large number of items and details about this opportunity without even having to look further into it. I can see who's assigned to it. I can see that the customer can say it. I can see that there's been communications between me and the customer on here. I know when I should follow up on it. I know when I expect it to close. I know the last time I reached out to the customer. I know the value of it. And I know currently what I'm thinking the estimated likelihood of them moving forward is based off how little we've talked to each other at this point. And then I have their email address and their phone number. If I had entered it, it would be here as well. And I know what type of opportunity it is, so you can control different types. And then I also have the current status of it. And then from here, I can also do actions related to the opportunity if I wanted to. So going into the opportunity itself, we can see that it does track a number of other informations. So we can see that, again, some of the same actions are here. If I had attachments, I can add attachments into the system. I can see a link to. And here in the link to, I can see that it originally came from a lead. I can see that I've had an appointment made, and I do have a meeting scheduled. And I can see that I have a pending quote out that's waiting for approval from the customer, all from within this opportunity. I can see in the audit log any of the changes that I've made to the opportunity. And I can add notes if I wanted to. And then we also have the notes log, which is meant to be as more of a contact log where everything gets timestamped. I called the customer, missed meeting, I rescheduled to a later date. And then the last thing what I'm going to do is I can also mark it as a category. So if in this case, I want to track why I lost this opportunity, I could put it as it was a great idea, but really it's not going to benefit their business any. So I'm going to put it was no business value. And the next piece in this is the hub. So when you're looking at the hub, same concept. You can put in multiple documents. So if you're using attachments, you might want to upload one or two. If there's a lot of different documents that you might need to use within each opportunity, you might want to use the hub. And then we have assignments. Now, there is the primary assignment that's available within the opportunity itself. But if you need to assign multiple people, multiple teams to do a particular action, so if like the pre-sales does require, let's say if you're an architect or a firm, you might need to also get drawings made up. So you need to assign your team to do the drawings. You need someone to do this budgeting. You need to assign someone to do these different items. So you can assign multiple people to an opportunity, but there's only one primary assignment. And of course, the last piece in the opportunities I really want to go into in the details is that you can create custom fields. So you can add sections similar to how we were doing this with the customers to create as many custom fields as you want. And all those are based off of your types. So right now we only have one type. But if I had multiple types, every time I switch types, it will show you different custom fields because different different opportunity types might require looking to different tracking of information. So you can do that. And when you're going into your company settings, and here I'm going to go to look at my opportunity types, I can see that in this opportunity type, the sales opportunity, anytime there's a new one created, you can send a notification to someone. And then the next piece is the custom fields. You can add as many different sections and or custom fields as you want. Additionally, you can add multiple statuses, you can add multiple priorities, and then you can have multiple categories as well. So the categories and the priorities and the statuses work across all the opportunities, and the types only work against one. So as you can see, we do have the quick add here. Now, there is no triggers that happen once you move something from open to sold. Nothing automatically does that, because they are kind of separate from the sales order process. So you do have to go in and, once you create a sales order and mark it as, and it does get approved, you still have to go mark this as sold. And I'll go into how to manage some opportunities a little bit more in some of the next sections. Now, one of the great things in here, like I said, was this creation of an appointment, or the creating of the order, or the creating of the task. So what you can do is anytime you need to do an action that's related to this opportunity. So let's say if in your pre-sales process you have a lot of steps that you may or may not bill your client for during the pre-sales phase, you might want to track it. So I might want to create a task from this opportunity so I know this task is related to it. And then what I can then do at this point is, excuse me, as it gets a little notification that we just had a release recently, is I can track all the work that might be done in the pre-sale stage. I could create a type that is subcontractor work, or might be pre-sales work, and as you're changing, different things happen, and it could have a budget amount of time that got spent onto it. I could say I spent 4 hours in pre-sales estimation work that I need to do in the back end for billing once it does move forward. So then what I can then do is create time and material invoices based off all of this pre-work and still have it linked to the actual opportunity. So you do get some functionality like that within the system. And then let's see what else we have in here. So I want to go into the portal a little bit more to show you some of the other features that we have. So when you're looking at some of your customers and seeing what they can do, is, let me go to the portal login real quick. So within each of your customers, everything that I just showed you that that you can manage and track with them, is you can choose to let them see that or not. So here, like I said, I have the assignment. So we have Brian Kinney. He is, as you can see, his role as account manager, but his title in the company is CFO. So you can have someone who has a title that's different from their assignments, and what this eye does, it shows you that includes their contact information. And same here, Alice Benjamin, her title is technically recruiter, but she's also the collections rep. We show any of the orders, whether they've been approved, whether or not they're recurring. So if you do subscription models, or if you do regular billings with them, you can create recurring orders. And we show that it's awaiting approval, and they can then go approve it. We show you what is their billing history and whether or not anything is past due. And you can see that right now that we have $18.20 is between 1 to 30 days late, but for the most part, the rest is on time. Here's that opportunity that I was working on that they have the ability to see. Let's say if they click on that, depending on how much you show to them, they can see additional fields within here. If there was any projects that you have open that you're working for them, they'd be able to see the project histories. And additionally, they'd also be able to see any tasks that you've opened and closed for them over the past so many months. They would have that in here. And then also anything in the notes or links or documents that you've uploaded in their hub that you set them access to see, they can see that as well. So there's that document that I uploaded about 10 minutes ago. Other features that they have in here, and one of the greatest ones is the managed payment profile. So all your customers do have the ability to pay online. Currently, it's set up through authorize.net, and if you have it set up, they can choose to pay through any of these credit cards, and you can control the credit cards on or off for each individual type, or through the usage of an e-check where they will put in their account and routing numbers. Additionally to that, they can also be set up for auto pay. And one of the great things in here too is you do have the ability, if you want to use it, that you can give surcharges or discounts depending on their payment method. So if you want to charge them more for using MasterCard or American Express, you can, and you can, not charge them anything for using an e-check. And then you can even go one step further and give them a 1% discount if you want to put them on, if they manage to go on auto pay. So that is some different incentives that you can do to help increase your overall cash flow and or to cover the transaction fees for having online payment processing. Going back into here as well, some of the different things that we have. Like I said, any of the assets or opportunities that you had open, they'd be able to see. And then they also have monthly statements. So depending on what type of transactions that you have open for the customers, they can see some of the transactions. So let's hope I have something open that was created in the month of April. What would happen at this point is it'll create a monthly statement, and you can configure the monthly statement template and layout. But it would have their addresses in here in ShipTo's if you had this set up. It'll show you all the appointments. It'll actually show you every appointment. It'll show you every task. It'll show you every order, every project. All that information for a month can be made visible to be seen in here, depending on how you have it set up and whether or not you want to adjust it to such a way. And then we also have the surface metrics as well. So based off the tasks of even a task type that they have access to and want to see, and then they can take a look at any that were completed in the last 90 days, 30 days, 60 days. Now, this customer doesn't have any set up, but they would be able to see them, their task history, and how quickly they were completed. Also in this system is there's the messaging. So if you sent a customer message from the application, they can see it within here. They can reply to it from here. But the other great thing is it also ends up in the customer's personal email. So the customer will get this email in the personal email, but since it was sent from the system, it is tied and related to that particular opportunity that you can see is in reference to here. They can reply back to it, and at that point, both the communications are now all happening in your local inbox, but they also show up in here as well. And then one of the last things that we have in the customer portal is the submit request. So here within the submit request is if you have it set up and you are doing service management, what you can do is you can set up so that a customer request for information or a support ticket, and depending on what you allow your customers to submit, because you control the request type individually, it gives you the ability to let them put in a request for help. I have late fees that are wrong. So they have the ability to submit these requests, and you can do these requests whether they're not for service management, billing requests, customer inquiry requests, any type of request that you might want. You can create these tasks, and each task can require certain information. So if you want to have your customers fill out a particular task, let's say the request is going to be they want to do additional work that you need to track these 5 pieces of information. You can require all that information within the submit request to be done straight from that task, and then you have it quickly and easily, and you can do whatever you need to do from that information. One of the other ways you can get information from your customers is the usage of the lead forms, which I kind of went into a little bit earlier. So within your customers, we also have the leads. Now, the way the leads work is you can track how your different prospects happen. Now, we don't automatically convert leads to accounts, and there are good reasons behind it, such as if you happen to have, let's say, a HubSpot form or some other type of form on your website, is just because a customer has said, I want to work with you, does not mean that they are a qualified prospect. So we have the lead stage there to allow you to help only focus on the ones that you're looking to focus on. And you can see right now that I have 3 leads in the system. If I want to add an additional lead, I can do that through filling out this form, which is used for internal leads. I can fill it out, and this time of filling it out, it will then create a contact and an account for it, or excuse me, this will finish creating a lead. Let me do that right now to walk through the example. I'm just going to fill out some basic information. I'm going to put that their account and save. So once I have a lead filled out, the next thing that I can do is I can convert them to a customer or associate this lead to an existing customer or just mark them as inactive. Now, I'm not going to do any one of these at this present time, but normally what I would do is after I qualify them, I would convert them to a customer. And it will then take all the information from this lead form and place it into their account information. So really just almost like one click, convert and save, and they now have that. And the second step of adding a new customer is adding a new opportunity, which will also take some of this information and throw it in an opportunity. Now, that's if you're handling leads manually. You can also take things one step further and have your creation of lead forms. Now, the lead forms are great because these are things that you can put on your websites that you allow your customers or prospects to fill out, and then they can gather this. You can collect this information from them. So taking a look at this lead form, right now I'm just keeping it simple. I have it's called the Web to Lead Contact Form. I give it a section title called Contact Us. These are all the fields that I'm looking to get. If I wanted to add more, I most certainly can. And I can add a whole new section. And some of these fields are going to transfer directly over to the account. Some of them might just be within the own lead. So you can get creative in what are the different things you're looking to capture from them. You give them the thank you message. You can get creative and even upload a CSS file if you wanted to help with the formatting of that. And then, of course, you can set up notifications for each lead form type of who's going to get notified anytime that there is a lead submittal. Now, what you then do is you get this code. And what this does is it gives you an iframe code. Now, I don't know if any of you are familiar with iframe codes and how they work, but it's basically a nice trick to take information from an outside source and put it onto your web page almost seamlessly. Because what it's really doing is it's saying on your website, you would just put in this one thing from the beginning to the end, but what's really doing is it's forcing this page to upload on your website. So you can easily put this code and this form on your personal website for your company, and you can have this being the Contact Us form. And you can create multiple of these. So you might want to have one that's contacting us regarding a issue, and then you might have another one that might be Contact Us regarding something where you might want to do additional work or your interest in a product. So depending on how you're doing this, you might want to adjust these contact forms to go to different people and to create different workflows regarding that. So you do have a lot of capabilities within your own lead forms. So the last thing that I kind of want to talk about within this is when you're looking at your customers is the references. Now the references are really great because as you are marking customers as references, what you're able to do is then load up these references. And then once you had everyone filled out within here and had them listed as references, what you then can do is, depending on how you categorize your contacts as references, you can then send an email to a new prospect to say, hey, these are the references that are going out. And then there's other ways to even actually automate this process, which I can show, which I will be showing in my later sessions. But for the most part, these are all the basic things that you can track within the CRM aspects to it. And then it does get a little bit more involved once we're adding the sales orders and the reporting. And as you can see, we will eventually be going over all the financial aspects, the quotes, recurring orders, how to do all the different sales orders with the creation of the multi-touch emails, which is all your marketing campaigning. All that will be coming into the later sessions, as well as your reports on sales order profitabilities, your item reports to some degree, and then of course how to make a particular custom report regarding opportunity management. So with that, my presentation on the first aspect of CRM 101 is over, and I will be opening up to, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask me at this time. Does anyone have any questions? All right, I'm going to assume that no one has any questions at this time, which is perfectly okay. So with that, I want to thank you. Oh, do I see a question? I do see someone with a hand raised. Gary?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. When you were setting up the clients, the customers, I noticed that like some of the customers that we deal with, there's like a parent company and then there's divisions. For instance, the one we deal with is Rice Holdings. Rice Holdings also has, I think it's Darlington Polymer is another company. Jet Pulverizer is another company.
Okay.
But they're all kind of part of Rice Holdings. And I've noticed that like going in and out of some of the different customers, I can't always get to certain contacts. You know, certain contacts are associated with Darlington Polymer, other contacts are associated with Jet Pulverizer, some contacts. So what's the best way to get that set up?
So depending on how you have it set up, so for example, if you go through a search on your, one way to do it is, so here I have this Joe Krabby and I want to associate contacts from one customer to another. So within Joe's Crab Shack, I can add a existing one or associate existing, and I can just enter in their name in here to try to help build that association. So that's one way to do it. And of course, right now I don't have anyone in here for that. So right here, I can select a different customer, and that can help build up that association between the multiple different contacts. But one of the other ways in which you can do it is you can actually use assignments to do this as well. So you can actually do assignments for like a parent category.
Okay.
To do that, that's one way to do it. So you can use the assignments of parent category or child customers to do it that way. Or one of the other ways I could recommend doing it is going into your settings, and I'm going to go to our custom fields for our customer vendors. And if I want to do a custom field for parent company, field type is going to be select from an existing list. An existing list there are customer vendors. So here, when you're going to that list of customer vendors now, I can choose who is the parent company, and then if I create another one for a child company or companies, I can create that and have that association that way.
Okay.
And then once you do that, they are going to be linked. So let me go into this info. So here I'm choosing the link to, I'm going to associate to Jones and Company shows. So we have that, which that will we'll be sending out a, it does have that link, but it's not going to necessarily link you to it. One of the other ways to do it is if you are doing the assignments, and if you do it that way, where you can help do the assignments through your different company contacts and parent companies. That way you can then build a report off of that, where you might want to see, you can do some things in that way. So if you want, maybe set me up sometime after this call to go through some of the different ways that I can help you directly with an actual answer to your problem.
Okay, thanks.
All right. And just to let everyone know that we have recorded all of these. So I will be sending out an email, I'd say probably a little bit later on today, that will have a link to the YouTube video. So all these will be uploaded and on list on YouTube. I should be sending that link out later on today. So whether you make it, as long as you registered for the webinar, you will be getting the link to the videos. So feel free to register for all of them in the future and not even attend. Granted, always prefer you to attend. But if you want a video, just sign up for the links and attend that way. So they will be being sent out later. Any other questions? Right now, since the way we're having it set up is the question was, can other workers view or just those registered? Since they're going to be linked on YouTube, you can just share that link with whomever else you would want to see the video. So that's up to you to share as needed. So you can share that with people who do not register. Just by registering, it makes sure that is a way to make sure that you will get the recordings yourself. Is there anything else I can help anyone with? All right, then. I'm going to call that. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. I want to thank you all for attending, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.